everybody, and welcome to another episode of What's Brewing. We have a very informal, very fun show ahead of you. But yes, welcome to What's Brewing, and thanks for letting us be a part of your weekly routine. I know it takes a lot for you guys to join us and listen to our silly voices for an hour or so every week. So thanks for joining in and watching our ugly mugs and listening to us on the podcast. But yes, we do have a fun show. It's a little more relaxed. This evening because we just are doing like a Q&A. It's an AMA, Ask Me Anything, and just because last week we had a really good show, but there was a ton of questions we didn't get to, and we wanted to get to those this week, so instead of spending too much time on our opinions and all, we wanted to answer your questions. And so you guys have been sending in questions through the hashtag MCOJBrew as normal. So if you have any questions while you're watching this show, or even afterward, if you're listening on the podcast or watching later, go ahead and send those too, and we'll hit you up on the next one. But hashtag MCOJBrew with any questions on anything that accepts hashtags. I've got them all open right now, so Google+, Instagram, MySpace, Twitter, GeoCities, Hot Sites. I think that's all of them, right? No, wait, that's my private browser. Sorry. Different show, guys. But let's go ahead and meet the Brew Crew. We're always missing one, and it's just sad. But tonight we are missing Chuck. He had something come right at the end, right before we went on again. And so we miss you, Chuck, and we hope that you make it back next week. But going left to right, as I usually do, we'll start with Back from the Dead. Fred, how are you, my friend? Oh, Fred, I think you're muted.
Oh, Fred. Already.
Here we go. How's that?
Informal, falling apart. No. Go ahead, Fred. Right. What's brewing?
Starting off with a bang. Yes. Good to see you guys once again. Things are doing. We're in full bloom of spring is in full bloom up here in the Northeast, and so are my allergies. So it's a fun season, but it's beautiful out here. I had a beautiful sunny day today. All the trees and flowers are blooming. So lovely time up here.
Excellent. Yeah, I need to share some pictures with us so we can check those things out. Guys, I'm in love with Snapseed Sidebar. I love that app. I'm over editing everything, but I love it. Just fantastic app. But anyway, yeah, share some stuff with us, Fred. So
will do. Well, the last thing I shared with you was from the Spring Fest when it was snowing out, and you didn't buy it, being down there in Georgia. So.
And that was welcome to spring, and it's snowing. So send us some stuff and let us check it out. The spring beautifulness down there. And then
we'll do.
Our next panelist and next part of the Brew Crew here is 2 a.m. Greg without a better nickname until we can find something better. The sad thing about bad nicknames, and I've given, I think, everybody these bad nicknames, is they stick the longer we go with them. So 2 a.m. Greg is a bad nickname. We got to fix that. So, but anyway, Greg, how are you?
I'm really good. It's been a really good week, and happy to be back with the Brew Crew.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
And answer some questions about Joe.
Oh, sweet.
I think. Are we going to turn this to Grill Joe Week? That's fine with me, too.
I think that's the way it's going to go, so let's do it.
We'll get there. We don't want to just start in too much. We got some more people to go through. But, Greg, you got some new equipment there. You got new camera and mic, right? Yeah,
unfortunately, you're now going to see me in HD, so because I splashed out on a Logitech cam, because the MacBook one was a bit rubbish when watching it back, and a microphone so you can hear how English is pronounced properly.
Did you get the? You're the only one on the show. Alvie tries to teach us, but you and your metric or your what's the word? Imperial measures.
You mean the correct system?
The correct system. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. But did you go ahead and grab the Logitech C920 that I suggested?
Yes.
Awesome.
For an absolute bargain on Amazon.
Oh yeah, it's a really good one, and I suggest we'll have you put a link to this camera, because I think that's 3 of us now using it. Joe, are you using the Logitech C920?
Yep, same one I got.
Yeah, so 3 of us using that now. So glowing recommendations from the Brew Crew. They're also all using Snowball.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All
and terrible, subtle fishing for sponsorship too. We still have 2 that need cameras. Just saying.
I was gonna say I already was sponsored. They sponsored us by sending me one of those. So I'm gonna plug them every time I get. What's that?
From people at Logitech already.
Yeah, between Logitech and Blue, we've got most of the show covered, don't we?
Yeah.
All right, so our main guy in the middle, Mobile Cup of Joe. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. It's like 90 degrees in this room right now, and my fan was too loud to have it blowing in this direction, so it's going to be a very fun hour here on the show. But it's been going pretty good. It's actually really nice in Michigan for once, but there's no middle ground in the weather, so we go from like freezing temperatures to just like unbearably hot. So we're in the unbearably hot section right now, but it's going good. I had prom this past weekend, which was a lot of fun to get all spiffied up and everything.
Oh, really?
And
Can you tell us more?
Oh, I know, no, Greg, I would love to tell you more about that, but I'm afraid we have a busy schedule on the show tonight, so maybe if there's time at the end, but I'm going to have to leave it at that for right now.
Yeah. Well, good. It did look like he had a really good time at prom, though, all joking aside, so... but yeah, fantastic, good stuff. All right, and then our last one, Spec Sheet Tony, who is half naked tonight. Nobody's complaining, though, so how are you, my friend?
I'm doing really, really well. Putting the finishing touches on getting the house, packed up and cleaned up, and be moving. I will not be here next Friday because, contrary to Alvie's protests, I do need to get some stuff moved into the new place, and might not even have an office space set up in the new one yet. So, but moving next Friday, exciting stuff. That's really all that's been going on, though. Moving, still waiting on my next quadcopter, so that's probably going to end up getting rerouted in the mail to the new place. Other than that, looking forward to a new Blue device coming in pretty soon. Can't talk much about it because it hasn't had a press release, but I think it will be the first device they release with Lollipop on it stock.
Excellent.
Oh, nice.
And looking forward to answering some questions tonight, so it's going to be fun. And I mean, we have no limits on the show tonight. We're going to go way past an hour, so Joe can enjoy this wonderful temperature in his room.
Thank you so much.
Well, we just want to make sure we give enough time to get to all of the questions that are in the dockets for tonight. So,
if you guys do have like any questions, if you're watching the show live right now, you can still use the hashtag MCOJBrew to send them in. And if you don't get them tonight, we'll try to get those next show too. So, like, if you're just watching, like, it's not too late to throw in some questions if you got them while you're watching it.
All right, host. Who's in charge here? Let's get started then.
I mean, you've been gone for a month, so I got to pick up some slack.
Do what?
You were gone for a month, so I got to pick up some slack here.
Hey, no. We had this discussion before we went even live. I'm sorry for those of you who are listening and watching to Joe's terrible, unprofessional attitude right now. But last week was his chance to give me a hard time about missing so much show. And now I'm back, baby. Let's just do this thing, right? So just remember, Joe, that all of us are sitting on go for Grill Joe session here. So don't push too hard.
All right. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
But yes, we do have a ton of questions to go through. So far, we've got almost 10, I think. So we'll try to get those. And we'll start with the questions we didn't get to last week. So we'll try to get to all of them tonight, but we'll definitely start with last week's questions that we missed. First up, from Paul Peck, Yellow Dev over there in Greece. How are you, my friend? He's one of my buddies. Here's the question. It says, do you feel the upgrades we are getting from each generation are actually aimed at a 2-year window? For example, it's not a true next-gen, but half next-gen, as these manufacturers are actually seeing only purchases from people every 2 years. There never seems to be a massive jump. It's more like the iPhone S syndrome. Talking specifically about mobile devices, but pretty much all the tech in general runs on that 2-year window. What are your thoughts? And we'll just start left to right. Go ahead, Fred. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's, I don't think we're seeing flagships coming with that level of frequency, but I don't know that everybody upgrades every year. Carriers are still kind of set up for the 2-year cycle, but it's been a long time, maybe sometime going back about 10 years ago, that was reading that the turnaround time, a generation of cell phone technology had dropped down to 3 to 6 months, that there's going to be something new, some new innovation. But that's, of course, in the world of Android phones where we've got competition. We've got carriers putting different stuff out. We're in a group of people here that loves to test new stuff and is constantly swapping out devices and constantly reviewing devices. So we're kind of always on the cutting edge here. As for the mainstream user, the lay user, so to speak. I don't know how many people are on a cycle that's less than 2 years. I know that as you get into the second year of your contract, second year of your cycle, people are getting tired. If not getting tired of things, they're getting resource hungry, and things are slowing down. But I'm a little bit a little bit at a loss to answer that one, because I think we're looking at things a little bit differently than the common user, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, kind of like the target market. Who's the demographic for each set of devices? I get you. What do you think, Greg, about this?
Yeah, I think that it's natural for a company that produces a bit of technology to get you to upgrade as soon as possible. I don't think it's getting quite to the stage of the Sony timer built in, so they can get you in just after the warranties run out. I don't really know how it works in the States, but I would presume it's similar to over here. Most people are kind of tied into a 2-year contract, so I would presume most normals would be locked into 2 years whether they like it or not. But the rate of change is slowing down dramatically. It seems there's nothing really revolutionary. Everything seems just like a mini update with a bit more RAM and a bit of a faster processor, which doesn't really warrant 2 years worth of supposed innovation, I guess.
Good point. Good point. Mobile Cup of Joe, what's your thoughts?
I say that kind of depends on the manufacturer at the time, because if you look at like Mobile World Congress this year, HTC is a perfect example of kind of what Paul is saying with this question, that really all the HTC One M9 was basically last year's M8, but with what they thought was a better camera, but then we saw after the reviews came out that wasn't necessarily the case, but it had essentially the same design. I mean, it looked nearly identical to it, and basically the same specs in general. But then you look at something like Samsung, what they did with the Galaxy S5 and the S6. S6 is a complete overhaul of the S5. They completely changed their design philosophy, and they maybe some of the changes they made weren't for the better necessarily, but they really did make a massive change to pretty much the whole phone in general. So although, yeah, we have seen this change dramatically, I think we're kind of at that point in technology right now where we're just kind of at that point where we can only make menial upgrades as time goes on. Like, I'm sure within the next 5 years or so, there's going to be some new form of technology that we can implement into these devices to radically change maybe the form factor or just like a feature you can have with them. But for the time being, I mean, like, it's definitely not as massive as it used to be when the smartphone industry was still kind of booming right after the original iPhone. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because like just incremental upgrades, if they're done right, can be really solid. Like if HTC had put a really good camera on the One M9, that would be one of the best phones out there, and a better battery too. So I'm not completely against these smaller upgrades here and there. It's just that the manufacturers seem to really, if they're going to do that, they really have to hone in on those factors they're improving, and make sure the battery lasts through a day, make sure the camera is going to be comparable. Just make sure the upgrades you are making are actually going to make an impact on last generation's device.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Tony, I know you've got plenty to chime in on this topic.
I'll try to keep it short because there's a lot of questions, and I can talk about most of these questions for hours. But my couple of things to point out are, first of all, Galaxy S4, Galaxy S5, Galaxy S6. If you're on a 2-year upgrade plan, you're going to go from the 4 to the 6. You're not going to go from the 4 to the 5 because unless you need the free phone or the cheap phone that week, so or that year. So right now, flagships come out on a yearly basis. So when you upgrade on a 2-year contract, presumably you're fulfilling your contract before upgrading, which I think for us, for my friends and the people I know, the ones who are on contracts and who don't buy phones generally off contract, they are always upgrading between because they break their phones. I know very few people who can keep any of these devices for 2 years. But like they're not, we are seeing more of a significant change between the S3 and the S5, or the S3 and the S5 were the closest of any of the two Galaxy S's, I think. But between like the S4 and the S6, there's a significant change, stuff like that. So if you really are jumping one generation, you're going to get a significant upgrade. And for the flagship devices, yeah, they can last you. They can keep their power through if you stay on official, software, or if you root and put CyanogenMod on, but you're not, downloading all kinds of crazy apps. The problem was if you're not buying any kind of high-end flagship device, then your device is going to slow down because, I mean, you could buy the cheap phone this year, even the new cheap phone this year, and it's not going to have enough space for apps next year because it only had 4 or 8 gigs of internal storage or something like that. So I think the 2-year thing is kind of bunk. It was no problem when we weren't installing apps and our phones weren't computers; they were just phones, and we didn't have they were better. They weren't as breakable and didn't have as many things that could go wrong with them. But I in general don't think that the market is as amicable to someone who is going to buy a phone and live out their 2-year contract before buying another phone. And we have so many things in place now so that you don't have to do that. There wouldn't be every single carrier and every single manufacturer, and even some other independent companies through whom you can get insurance, like Best Buy and a couple of others. We have so many programs in place for people who don't want to have to wait 2 years. So I think in general that nobody really waits 2 years unless they're really in that kind of place where they don't have the money to spend on a phone, or they really don't care about their phone, which I think most of the time most people nowadays do want the newest and the best thing, because they're a status symbol in a way to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you've got to take into account as well that there isn't realistically a year between these phones. I mean, the manufacturers will start working on the next phone that's coming along, in some instances before the current flagships even on the market. They've got to start negotiating with Qualcomm with what chip they're allowed to use this year and all sorts of bits and pieces and get things in line. And then you will see things like people still using the Snapdragon 810 because that's the chip that they've been told by Qualcomm they're allowed to buy.
Yeah, well, and that makes a strong case for not keeping the same chip. Like, I had the Galaxy S through the Galaxy S5, and they're good. I had some devices in between the S4 and the S5, but they're good phones, and they're good especially if you're going to root them and put Cyanogen on them. Then they work really, really well. But it's so boring because there's such bland updates in between them for that series, at least. And even like Joe said, from the HTC M8 to the M9, there's really not all that much difference, except they put a higher megapixel count on the camera, even though they didn't really change it. But so when you're sticking with one line like that, you're not really going to see much in the updates except just the fact that you have the new device with the new name. So it makes a strong case for switching devices, switching carriers, or not switching carriers, but switching manufacturers. So going Samsung to Motorola, Samsung to Sony, and jumping around because like if you were on HTC, your only choice to get the next gen phone would be to go maybe to Samsung to get the Note 4 or something like that because it's got the next that HTC didn't have. There wasn't an HTC phone with the 805, was there? Yes. Anyway,
the M8 was the 802, I think.
Yeah, 801, I think. But yeah, I mean, it makes a strong case for jumping around, and I think that there are far more reasons to go ahead and switch your device at least every 12 months than to keep it for 2 years.
Yeah, good points. And really, the jumping around thing is what's kind of key. Like, I would say with one manufacturer, yeah, you're looking pretty much incremental updates, but you can jump from HTC to Samsung in a year, and that's a big jump. And then go from Samsung to let's go LG or whoever in another year, and that's another big jump. But I think staying with one manufacturer, you're looking more incremental. But we see the same thing in the automobile industry. My 07 Jeep Wrangler still looks and acts for the most part like the 2012 one did. And then they come out and redesign things. So I just hate contracts and my friends being and anybody really being locked into contracts because 2 years with one device is. Even the best device today is almost impossible. Just to keep it like what you're talking about. It's fragile and then it's obsolete. And what is it, Fred? We were talking about it's 12 months and it's obsolete.
Moore's law. It's not really obsolete, but I think it's an
Well-
old technology. It's not really a law, but more of like a principle that
Right.
that the technology specs double on an annual basis. But now in defense, and I don't want to say anything really in defense of Verizon Wireless, but when I was on contract terms with Verizon Wireless, initially there was upgrade at least for one line on my family plan every year, and at some point that dropped down to 2 years. But in, I think, every case with the 2-year upgrades, no more than 18 months into it, and sometimes sooner than that, they started soliciting us for upgrades at discounted rates. So I think the carriers too want to move product, and it's a way to keep people engaged. And of course, especially in the case of somebody like me, where I had 2, then 3, then 4, then 5 lines, as soon as you upgrade one, they've got you locked in for another 2-year contract. So it serves their purpose as well.
Yeah,
It
they
serves
know
their
how to run that
business
machine.
well. Yeah, it serves their business goals well to let you upgrade 6 months or a year later, because they know they're locking you in for a longer term at that point.
Exactly right. All right, so that's question one, and not all of these questions are going to be terribly serious or terribly tech related.
But some of them are going to be
such
terrible. So
as- the answers might be terrible, but they're not terribly tech. For instance, our next question comes from Kennedy Weston, who says, "Why is
that?
Tony McAfee such? Why is he so mean? Tony, why
Thank
are you
you.
so mean?"
Because I love my friend Joe,
Thank you, Tony.
and that is why I'm such a dick to him and his friends. He is the only one of us who is not of age yet, and we'll just consider this a coming of age thing. He has to put up with all of his. We're just showing him how it's going to be for the rest of his life. For everyone he interacts. No, I'm just kidding. No, I understand the spirit of the question, and I love you too, Kennedy.
Oh, such love.
Oh. Man, if only we could get her on the show to reconcile the relationship between Kennedy and
I could
Tony.
try to do that.
Man, that would be maybe something to think about at work.
I mean, if Kennedy wants
me
to come
find that-
on and like try to fix this relationship with Tony,
Yeah, I have a poem I can read you, Kennedy.
I mean, Tony's pouring his heart out right now, and then I mean, I'm sorry, she doesn't want to be your friend, Tony. I apologize. I mean, that was beautiful. That was beautiful what you just said right there. But I mean, I apologize for that.
She doesn't want to hear the poem. She doesn't
I
want to
mean,
risk it.
tears are free,
She
man. It's
cried.
okay.
Okay. All right, I'll save it for next week, Kennedy.
Okay, I'm sorry she hates you so much. I apologize for that.
Tony, you brought this on yourself, though. You really.
I mean, I would forgive you, Tony. Honest, I would personally, but I
You
mean,
would do it. You would forgive me.
I would forgive you. I mean, that was beautiful, but some people.
Well, you go ahead and forgive me, and then when you guys get married, then you'll be one, and she'll have forgiven me too. So.
Oh wow!
Well,
I went there.
All right. So from burning hate, we also have burning questions, and there are a lot of people that want to know what's with Joe's eyebrows. Joe, care to comment?
I don't know what's with these eyebrows. I mean, they kind of look like caterpillars, I guess. I don't know.
Now,
I don't know what to say, but I mean, thank you for whoever sent that in, because that's an awesome question.
Various. So more than one have asked this question. Now, per your socials, Joe, you have mentioned that you do not mind to go get manicures, pedicures, hair, nails done, and all that.
I've said that, yep.
he does
So-
what he's told.
Yeah, right. So with that door being
You hear that,
open,
Kennedy?
they will take care and put your eyebrows on fleek, boy. They will.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
get
should.
them threaded. Get them threaded.
I got a haircut this morning, and the lady barber, for whatever that's worth, offered to and did in fact trim my eyebrows. Something, I trim my own beard, but I never think of eyebrows. So
I had a
There it
lady
is.
barber do that to me at a place recently, and I haven't been back since because she didn't ask. She just did it. She just came in front of my face. I thought she was gonna do the front of my head, and I just feel this thing in my eyebrows. I'm like, what? And I close my eyes because I don't want to get anything in my eyes, and then I hear snip snip snip, and eyebrows fall onto my face. I'm like, what? It just happened. I mean, they looked fabulous afterwards, but
Just put
still.
2 slips in.
But she
Yes,
was
yeah, he did. That's for how many people I've killed in the gangs. Isn't that how that works? Sorry.
I don't know.
I think that's the teardrops. I think that means something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, hey,
Around
I'll
my
go to bat for eyebrows because I get caterpillars too, Joe. So this is just some wisdom from your friend. I go to Sport Clips. I will gladly take a sponsorship from Sport Clips. I love them to death because you get a really good haircut. They take you in the back and they just completely destroy you. Head roll.
Whoa.
2 hands on your head. It feels amazing.
I thought we were talking about eyebrows.
And they use this tea tree. I mean, it's fantastic. It's all tingling. You just feel like you're exhausted when you leave, but it's wonderful. But anyway,
Come on, this is a family show here, guys.
they will take a comb and she'll buzz my eyebrows, and it's just fantastic. It's wonderful. So Joe, get your eyebrows taken care of.
Hey, I get wax at least every 6 weeks. I gotta wax them around. But, I mean, apparently it's not doing anything if we got these questions coming in. So I have to ask my barber what the hell's going on with that right there.
Well, I think they're leaving
doing
too
their
much
job.
brow. Is that the problem? It gets rid of the unibrow, but they think there's too much brow still.
I'll just come on here one day with them completely gone and see what people say.
That'd be. Have you ever seen that? It's really weird and creepy.
It's
When people
terrifying.
maybe for a fundraiser.
Like an alien.
Yeah,
I know
it's
something's wrong, but I don't know what.
Yeah, it takes forever to figure out what's going on. All right, let's get back on track because Joe is distracting and so is the G4.
Yeah, we're so on track tonight.
We are. So let's get back to a question. This is from Dalmain, and it says, do you guys use wireless charging as it seems to be the next big thing? And I'll go right to left just to mix it up. Tony, do you use wireless charging?
I thought I would since the Nexus 6 has the capability, and I used it on my Nexus 5 almost exclusively. I would plug my phone in at night when I know I'm not going to touch it, but anytime that I would be, my phone would be on the charger next to me and I'm picking it up to look at it and interact with it, I would use the wireless charger because I don't want to be moving my phone around while it's plugged in, a lot. And I specifically do leave my phone while it's charging. I try to leave it be and not touch it because I don't want to risk the micro USB ports are just awful. But I haven't. I have a couple of wireless chargers, or no, I have at least one wireless charger right now, and I don't know if it's just not really good enough or if the sensors aren't in the right place. But I haven't felt the need to spend any more money on it, and I think the reason is because that the Nexus 6 has Quick Charge 2.0. So I have 2 Motorola Quick Charge 2.0s, and so anytime I plug my phone in next to my downstairs chair or next to my bed, it's always on a quick charger, and I wouldn't sacrifice that, being able to top it off almost completely in 15-20 minutes for the convenience of wireless charging.
Do they have wireless charging 2.0 for that speed, or is that not how?
I think the newer ones for the S. Greg will have to tell us, but I think the newer ones for the S6 are faster because they're proprietary, but I don't know if they have special, specifically Quick Charge 2.0 wireless charging.
Gotcha. Greg, go ahead and chime in. We'll come back to Joe.
Yeah, I use wireless charging all the time now with the S6. It's really easy to just kind of put it on charge at work or either at home. I never really used it before with either I think the Nexus 4 had it and also the Nexus 5, but the wireless charging on the S6 must be at least an improvement because it seems to be pretty quick and easier to use. You can kind of just put it down rather than having to worry about where the coils and everything are.
Oh, nice. What about you, Joe? Do you use wireless on yours?
I had when I got my Nexus 5, I bought the Nexus wireless charging pad that came out alongside it. And I used it when I had the Nexus 5, but then I just kind of put it back in the box and I haven't touched it since. I mean, when I had the Nexus 5, I used it maybe a handful of times, but I mean, I see the convenience of them, but I mean, I honestly don't care just plugging in the USB port at night before I go to bed. So I think they're cool, but I've never gotten the big deal about them because like usually the charging time is slower, especially if you're looking at quick charge technology now. That's going to charge a lot faster than if I'm put on the wireless charging pad, which doesn't have quick charge in it. So I think they're cool, but I've never really been that enthralled by them. So I don't know if I'm weird or something, but I've just never gotten the big deal about wireless charging.
You're just a little weird, but that's why we love you. So,
thank you.
Fred, what about you? Do you use wireless charging?
I actually have not tried a wireless phone charger yet. None have come across my desk here. So, you wireless charger manufacturers, if you're listening out there, feel free to send some over. We'll test them and review them. My only experience with inductive charging really has been with my Sonicare toothbrush, which really actually amazed me when I got the thing and saw it charge just by sitting it down on the pad. And I've been using that for actually probably close to 10 years, if not more. And so the technology is there, it works, but have not gotten to test it on the phone.
I've heard someone made a Moto 360 charger out of a Sonicare wireless charger. They were able to cut it, and make it into make it into something. They put it into some kind of stand they made for their Moto 360. It's pretty cool.
Now, as far as me, okay, let me back up. I've used Qi charging with my Nexus 4 when I had that. I used it constantly. I never plugged a USB in ever on that device. On my Sony devices, they use a different type of wireless charging. So instead of it being the coils and all that where you set it, lay it down, it's got just this little connector. I don't know if you can even see it, but if not, search it on Google Images.
Magnetic charger.
A little magnetic charger, really similar to the magnetic charger on the MacBook series and all that stuff. So it'll quick connect, in case you bump it or whatever. And I absolutely love it. I very rarely plug my Sony device in because it's waterproof. And I don't want to crack open the seals on the rubber gaskets and all that, so I try really hard not to open them up. My wireless charging, if you even want to call it that, that's what they call it, is just as fast as a regular charger, so I don't have to worry about the speed of it. And so in my dock, I've got like a little dock that I use at the office. When I set it in the dock, it's charging. So I'm still able to use it and all that. So I love wireless charging, always have, but it's not for everybody.
I guess that's one of my issues, with wireless charging, that there's no universal type yet. Like, there's Qi charging, there's Sony's type. I know there's a couple other, bands out there for wireless charging. I just wish if there was, one universal type that all the manufacturers would use, I wouldn't be, I'd probably be more inclined to use it. It's just that there's no solid, one, clear, defined way of, wireless charging yet. And it just kind of, you have to, make sure, the type of charger you're buying, if your phone's Qi, if the charger's Qi, or if it's a different type. That's my real issue with the whole thing right now.
Yeah,
Joe, have you ever
definitely of the S6 that uses both.
Have you ever lost micro USB connectivity, Joe, on a phone where you couldn't charge it anymore?
I have not.
That would make you at least try out wireless charging on the next device you have that's compatible, because that's why in my S3 I lost that. So my Nexus 5, let's see, I had the S4, and with the S4 I got a little piece that made it compatible with wireless chargers. You put it in the back, and then with my Nexus 5 it was already wireless charging compatible, so I made sure I had wireless chargers, because with my S3 I had to buy special giant batteries and then charge them on the wall and alternate them just so I could keep using the phone until I had money to get a new one. So I really like having a phone that is compatible with wireless charging, even if I don't use it, because I know that if the USB port goes out, I'll at least be able to charge and use the phone.
Yeah.
Although it would suck to have to take
point.
the wireless charger with you wherever you go.
Yeah, they're usually a little heavy, aren't they? Now,
if anyone wants a Qi wireless charger, I've got that Nexus one, so if we want to do that for a giveaway or something, I have no use for it whatsoever. So,
cool.
If you guys want a Nexus charger, we could do a giveaway for that, so there's something.
Cool. I say let's do it. We're about to hit 4,000 subscribers.
Yeah, there we go.
Great little.
Definitely.
But I can echo you, Joe, on the different, Qi charging and Sony's. Even within Sony, I've had to get different chargers on different devices. Now, I'm too scared to try. I mean, I spend so much on a device to try the wrong charger on it, but they say, like, don't use last year's charger on this year's devices. So I'm like, cool, I'll just buy a new one. They're cheap, at least, because it's just an adapter cable instead of, like, a whole unit, but still, I'm not going to mess with them. So, but that's my 2 cents on wireless charging and all that. All right, so let's move on. We got another question from where I lost my spot. Let's do this. Why aren't Mobile Cup of Joe shirts a thing yet, Joe?
Well, we looked into that a couple of times before with what was it, Vistaprint and Cafe Press, but we never really. I mean, like, we looked around, but we didn't really like what their services necessarily had to offer. But we're actually looking into a company right now. I won't give away any information, Greg. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that just yet.
I don't think we're far enough down the line, but I guess it's safe to say that something's definitely coming and on the way.
Yeah, so Greg and I are working on something. I don't think we've even told the rest of the brew crew yet, so top secret stuff right now.
Ooh.
Possibly some stuff coming on, hopefully within the next month or so, I'd like to say, of some more shirts and mugs and stuff we'll be able to kick out on down the road. So that's definitely something we're thinking about, doing t-shirts and coffee mugs, different little apparel things like that that you guys will be able to buy. So I'd say, like I said, in the next month or two, that should definitely be a real thing. Because I know I've had tons of people ask me that at, like, school, and, like, just I know, like, winter t-shirts going to be a thing. So it is coming, hopefully, sometime soon.
Sweet.
Well, and you know, we're not going to ever stop someone from advertising for us. So if you want a T-shirt and you want to pay for it, we'll give you the files you need to upload to Arts Cow or Cafe Press and make your own T-shirt. Well, we can definitely do that in the meantime.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited for some merch. I would buy merch myself. I'm just such a fan of Joe.
Oh yeah, I would too.
And those sexy eyebrows.
Those eyebrows right there. Whew.
I would just
we just need
do it so he has money for a wedding ring eventually.
We just need a Mobile Cup of Joe T-shirt with G4 on the back.
Yes.
See something like that.
That would be wonderful.
You'd have to have her sign off, though, to put her picture.
Oh, yeah, to use the likeness. You're exactly right. All right, let's get back on some tech. What surprises you the most, that's not available in 2015? Like, as far as we've come with technology and advancements in general, what surprises you most that's not available
Good
today?
battery life.
Amen.
Hovercrafts. I wanted hovercrafts by now.
Ooh.
I was going to say, aren't we months away from when Back to the Future should arrive? So where's my hoverboards and lace-up trainers?
I think that the hoverboard is a thing now. It's just like 10 grand or 15 grand to get it.
That's true.
And you can only use it on certain surfaces.
For the longest time, for decades, what I used to say that I was waiting for from technology was, and I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but I was at the 1964 World's Fair and saw the Bell Telephone exhibit with picture phone, and I was a little kid and sat there on one side and my dad was on the other side, and we picked up the phone, talked to each other, and saw each other, and for years and years that was the thing that I was waiting for. And now it's just so common between everybody having a webcam on their laptop and phones that you can Skype on and everything else. So the future did come for me in that sense.
Well, I mean, this show is essentially just a picture phone.
Here it is.
You know what
there
I mean?
you go.
So
I think for me, it's not such. I'm sorry, Greg. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna go deep. I was gonna say that obviously it's the technology that we've got at the moment needs to focus more on kind of healthcare and disease and disability. To be honest, I'm surprised there really isn't more technology out there that can do more to help us live longer and cure diseases and disabilities that really should have more focus.
Yeah. See, and I can kind of piggyback on what you're saying there, because my surprise isn't that we don't have the technology, because what you're saying is, you know, we need inventors to focus on actually beneficial things and not just cool new things.
Exactly.
Because if we did focus, you know how much of this junk that we have in our pockets and in our bags every day, if it was applied to good medical causes, would actually make a difference. If the inventors were focusing on that when they created it. But to piggyback on that, I'm not really. There's nothing I'm really surprised about because you can get really good battery life if you want, a 3-pound phone. You can get, good battery life if you want a giant brick type phone. The thing I'm surprised about is more about people. With the technology advancements we have, that there are still so many troglodytes isn't the word, Luddites out there who are unwilling to learn about and accept and adapt to new technology, and they just want a house phone. They want, they want all their stuff on physical storage and physical media. They want, their cell phone number to be with their carrier, and are totally willing to even explore the option of Google Voice type options. And just there's so many people, and it's different because I'm seeing people. I grew up with millennials who have smartphones, and they have general knowledge, and they would be able to pass any kind of company's computer tests to get a job. But no one actually delves into what they're doing and finds out what's the best option for me. They all still think they need to use Microsoft Office. They all still think they need a Windows computer, and those that can afford them have Macs. But nobody's actually, because it's really, when you get right down to it, it's really not that hard to install Linux on a computer. But no one even realizes that that's an option today. People still think that what's told to them while they're, at work, that what they see all the time is the only option, and there are no free options for things. So I think that I'm just really surprised with people that nobody is really taking advantage of what we have at our fingertips all the time.
Good point. Yeah, and I'm kind of with you guys on that. My things. Why isn't the world a better place as far as access to food and clean water and all that? I'm with you guys on that. And then also just kind of on a personal, my daily commute life. I was stuck in 90 minutes worth of traffic to go about 25 miles today. Why aren't traffic signals and traffic in general handled better with technology? I know New York has a pretty killer system up there, Fred. I've seen some research on that, but in general, they just lights change, stop signs happen, people drive, and it sucks. So here close to home or anything like that, I would love to see traffic work better. And whether that's smart cars or driverless cars or whatever it may be, I think we're a while off from that. But I think we could have some smarter signals. Just if you sit and watch a traffic signal work, it's terrible for the most part. And then I would love to see worldwide, globally, just better access to food and clean water and all that kind of stuff too. So I'm with you guys on that. Fred, have you ever driven and experienced the New York traffic change in front of you kind of thing? Because I heard it's pretty cool.
Are you talking about the time traffic lights in Manhattan streets?
Yeah, and just how they all kind of there's that big central hub that if it's trafficy in this area, they kind of divert traffic by way of traffic signals and other things and lane changes and all.
Lane changes I don't see as much, although that may be something going on highways. Certainly in the tunnels, for example, Lincoln Tunnel in and out of Manhattan, there are 3 tubes, each one of which has 2 lanes crossing under the Hudson River from New Jersey into Manhattan and vice versa. As traffic patterns change, more or less of that traffic is diverted from one tube to another. So, for example, in rush hour going into the city in the morning, probably 4 lanes are all, probably 2 complete tubes are going into the city. 1 is coming out. They can be divided, and you can have 2 lanes in the same tunnel going in opposite directions. So there is some of that, but let it be said that traffic in New York City is almost unrivaled by anything that you see anywhere else. It's one of the few places where you can get stuck in a ridiculous traffic jam at 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes for no explained reason, although sometimes it's because that's when construction is going on or what have you. But there are some things that have been there forever and probably even predate computers, like timed traffic lights in Manhattan. which I remember as a kid seeing, and we didn't even have a car when I was really young, but it would be in taxis or in my uncle's car or something. There are certain avenues in Manhattan that when you hit them in the right direction at the right time at a certain speed, which I think was 30 or 35 miles an hour, you can cruise miles and miles, and you can watch as you go up the avenue, seeing the lights change from red to green ahead of you. And if there's no traffic, you can basically sail for miles at a time without ever hitting a red light because
Sweet.
they're timed for the right. Now, the number of times that actually happens in
Yeah.
Manhattan is slim,
But it
few
could.
and far between.
Could.
But it does happen on occasion.
Cool,
Now,
cool.
of course, that's timed for a particular time of day when traffic is going in that direction. If you're going in the opposite direction on those same avenues, if it happens to be a two-way avenue, as some of them are, then it's absolutely awful because they're changing opposite, and you can only go a block or two until you
Yeah.
hit another red light.
That's the way most of mine are around here.
But that's an old, long-standing thing that probably didn't even require computers. I'm assuming that was just done on timers.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, speaking of New York,
Yes.
because that was actually a good segue, we do have a question in the Q&A from Matt Laberq. That's wrong. But Matt has the question of, did any of you see The Avengers? What did you think of it? I have heard mixed reviews that it was not as great as the first one. Did any of you guys see The Avengers here?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it was better than the first one.
I saw it last weekend, and it is, like, honestly, like, probably one of the best Marvel movies I've seen yet. Like, aside from Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty fantastic too, and the original Iron Man, it is absolutely phenomenal. Like, Ultron is one of the best villains Marvel has had yet, and the new introduction of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch is just frickin' amazing. And, like, there's actually a lot more depth to some of the characters in there that we haven't gotten in the previous movies that really adds a lot of layers to just, like, the overall tension of the movie and just layers to the characters in general. So, I don't know who said it wasn't great as the first one because they're stupid. It's an awesome movie. Go watch it. It's fantastic.
No,
That's my rant.
it is a good movie. There's just so much in it that you could pick apart and be all geeky about. I mean, it's annoying that they introduced two characters that they can't even name because Sony Pictures have got the rights to it. But it was a pretty good movie, if all things said. Yeah, go see it.
It was fantastic because this dude freaking, like, has the coolest fight with the Hulk, like, not even, like, 20 minutes in the movie, and it's so sweet. And this is, like, the coolest toy I have in my room right now, and I just want an excuse to show this off, so thank you, Matt.
That wasn't even a real question, was it?
Oh, no, though. I've got like two Ultron ones back there too, like a Captain America. So don't even like make me bring out the rest of my toys. That's really sad. I'm like almost 18. I'm showing off Marvel toys on here that are like bobbleheads. That's my life right now.
I have not yet seen it, and probably will not. The superhero things are not my. That's not my movie, so that's not. I'm not a fair judge.
Oh, you have a bad taste in movies then.
Okay. Let's go with that.
Militant. So Joe says, let's move on from the superhero movie question.
That's enough of those. I did see a question over on Twitter from Paul. It said, should I change from my Turbo to the Galaxy S6 or Nexus 6? And you guys, I think, all have those, so go ahead.
I'd say Nexus 6 if you're changing, if you want a bigger screen. But if you don't want a bigger screen, I'm pretty sure the Galaxy S6 would be a disappointment going from the Turbo. Because the Turbo's got Motorola's almost stock Android software on it. Got the Lollipop update right now, I think, or is about to get it. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So if you want the bigger screen, go with the Nexus 6, but you're really not going to be seeing much of an improvement, if any improvement, to the Galaxy S6 because you're going to lose a huge amount of battery life, and you're going to have the same size screen. So my vote would be Nexus 6 if you want the bigger screen, but otherwise stick with Turbo because it's still top of the line.
Yeah, you're not going to be upgrading much. In fact, you'll probably keep a better camera by just staying on the Turbo.
Yeah, like the only reason I'd ever say go to the S6 is if you really, really want like the best camera you can get right now. But then we've also got the G4 coming out too. So if it's
you love the G4.
Oh, didn't Yeah. Shot. We'll go into that. I don't even want to get into that right now, but yeah, I mean, like Tony said, if you want like a bigger screen size, yeah, Nexus 6 is a really solid phone, but the Droid Turbo is like still one of probably the best phones Verizon has right now. So,
well, and you're
yeah,
still losing battery life going to the Nexus 6, by the way. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say that. So unless you really want that bigger screen, that would be the only reason to switch from the Turbo right now.
yeah,
Or, you
either
know,
phone
steady
is going to be a downgrade in
steady
battery.
software updates. Yeah.
And the S6, if you go from the Droid Turbo to the S6, I mean, it's gonna like frickin' like rock your world in a very bad way.
Yeah, it looks like Cooper jumped in the Q&A too. Says stay on the turbo. So that kind of seems like unless you just want to change for some random reason, just keep what you got, bud.
He's probably got a Verizon. That was Paul.
Yeah.
He said Verizon's probably offering him one of those so he can use the new ones. If you really do want to change, then I would have to lean on the Nexus 6, but I use the Nexus 6. So.
Well, speaking of, what are your daily drivers, guys?
Since I just said, I'll go ahead and say my phone is the Nexus 6, and I have a tablet, which is the Samsung Galaxy Tab Pro 8.4, the one with the Snapdragon 800, 2 gigs of RAM. Yes, 2 gigs of RAM. I'm really surprised at how well it runs with a Quad HD display. It's really, really nice. But it is running Cyanogen mods, so it's not nearly as bogged down as the stock one. That's what I carry around on a daily basis.
What about you, Joe?
I have got my leather-clad Moto X right here with the cognac leather, which is absolutely fantastic. I had the ebony wood back before this, but then I got a replacement because I got like a tiny little crack like on the top of the screen. But this is a fantastic phone. I wouldn't get it right now just because the 3rd generation is going to be coming out this August or early September, but I absolutely really love this phone. I know I do prefer this a bit over the Nexus 6 just because I like the screen size a lot better. Camera and the battery life are kind of weak, but like the leather itself, like even if this had like the worst specs, I would still have it because this leather is like unlike anything else. And honestly, like when the G4, like well, I don't know why I keep bringing this up in front of you guys, but when LG showed off the leather backs to the G4, like I'm just sold on that right away. So yeah, Moto X.
Moto X is also going to be a good option right now because it's so cheap. I think you can get it for $225
That's true.
right now.
Motorola puts out a lot of deals on their site for an unlocked Moto X. You can get it for like a really, really reasonable price. So if they have like a deal on it, they have like $250 off like quite frequently. So if you can pick it up for that price, like it's still a really solid phone, honestly.
Or if you could get it and get like a Moto 360 with it, that'd be a good option too.
Yeah. And it got like the 5.1 update, like I think sooner than some Nexus devices. Like one of the first phones that got Android 5.1. So I mean, even though Motorola is technically owned by Lenovo now, it's still getting like really good update support in that end.
What about you, Greg? What are you running?
Yeah, I spend my life firmly sitting on the fence, switching. I've got a personal S6 at the minute, but they still won't let me BYOD, so I use an iPhone for work. So I guess I get the best of both worlds.
Or the best of one world and an iPhone. Or the best of one world and an S6. Sorry. It goes either way.
It can go either way. I was waiting for the joke. I knew it was coming. So, what about you, Fred? What's your daily driver?
My daily driver at the moment is a Windows Phone Lumia 635, which I got as a transitional phone to get me out of Verizon and into T-Mobile. And actually, the plan had always been to get onto the Nexus 6 as soon as T-Mobile figured out how to do Wi-Fi calling on it, which they've been promising for months and promised by the end of first quarter. And as of this week, we're a month into the second quarter, and they still haven't gotten it. So come on, T-Mobile, get with it. I love you guys, but let's get Wi-Fi. And of course, they're passing the buck to Google as well. But somebody, let's get Wi-Fi, which is a necessity for me. Let's get Wi-Fi calling enabled. But at the rate we're going, I may be jumping to something like I might jump maybe to something like the G4 if that one gets up and running first.
Oh, really? You're interested in the G4 as well, Fred? Okay.
It stands for it on Twitter right now. I'll hashtag it so it's in our thing.
Not necessarily Joe's G4, but a G4.
There you go.
Very good. And now, as far as me, I'm still rocking my Sony Z3 tablet, my 8-inch. I just love it.
Alvie's 8-inch.
I gotta love it. You know, I had my 6.5 inch
it.
for a while and upgraded to the 8-inch, and it's just fantastic. It's the perfect size for me. I like the way it feels in my hand. I like the way it looks.
I'm
It's
sure you do.
beautiful and wonderful. It's a Sony Z3 tablet compact. That is my only device. I do not have a phone. That is my phone. My 8-inch tablet is my phone. And I do have an Asus ZenWatch. I do use Android Wear. Love it, especially with the big tablet in my pocket, or even I can leave it in the car and still get my notifications and handle that. So for me, the Android Wear is still kicking. I know some of the guys on here have jumped ship and got rid of the Android Wear. But for me, I'm still kicking Asus ZenWatch, even with all this other stuff out. And that's my daily driver. And let's find out a little bit more with Judy asked us a question, and this is probably going to be more for Joe because he's got one. But why don't we hear more about the Amazon Echo? Joe?
Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, because I know not everyone knows about it, the Amazon Echo is essentially like this little black cylinder that Amazon announced back in January, actually. It's basically kind of like a Google Now Siri assistant that you just put in your house, always connected and plugged in. So you add something to my shopping list, I'd play some music, add something to my to-do list, like how's the weather right now, like how tall is the Empire State Building, just random stuff like that that you'd ask Google Now or something along those lines. I don't think we've heard about it that much because Amazon hasn't really talked about it at all. Like, we had the initial announcement back in January, and then if you were a Prime member, you could get an invitation to purchase it. And as far as my knowledge goes, anyone can buy it right now for $200. If you're a Prime member, you get it for $99. So I just had it since yesterday. I really, really have absolutely loved it. I mean, it's just so cool to essentially have kind of like a little assistant right in the kitchen or something, because that's where we put it in our kitchen, where the room where your hands are generally busy cooking or doing dishes, have a way to just add stuff to your shopping list very easily without having to really think about it. But I just don't think Amazon is really pushing this as much as they should be. Like, we've seen them add new features with inclusions for Pandora, iHeartRadio, in the Philips Hue light, so you can say, Alexa, turn on the lights in the living room and have it do things like that. But I think Amazon is just kind of testing this out and just seeing if this is even going to go anywhere, if people are actually interested in it. I don't know if this is ever going to be like a big product for them, if it's just kind of like a test device they're putting out there to see how people are using it. I mean, at the end of the day, all it is just a way for you to purchase stuff easily on Amazon. Like, you can go right in there and set up like your one-click settings. So I can say, Alexa, buy this off Amazon. I'll have it on my door within a couple days. Same thing with that dash button they put out there. All of these devices Amazon creates are essentially just easier ways for you to purchase content through them. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and I really do like the potential of the Echo, but I just don't think they're really certain it's going to take off like they maybe thought it would, and I'm afraid we might just see this thing kind of die out in a couple of years if not enough people express interest in it, because I think it was more just kind of a little test unit to see if, if people are interested in this, great, but if people aren't, which it looks like a lot of people aren't, then we're just going to maybe drop it after a couple of years or so. But I hope that's not the case, because I absolutely adore mine so far. So I don't know if that really answers the question or not. I just don't think Amazon's really putting as much emphasis on it as they really should be, because it's actually a very, very interesting product.
Yeah, I mean, they had like the press release, and it was like a big day for all posts and all, and that was like it. You never heard anything else about it.
Like, so they added a couple new features, but they never really were like public with them. Like, I just went on the page a couple days ago. It's like, yeah, new features here and there, but they never announced those features. So I don't know if they're still really have faith in this product, or if they really do wish they would take a deeper interest in it, because there's actually a lot of potential to a device like that, where I don't have to go on my phone, even with just like a launch trace on my phone. I mean, I got to worry about battery life on there if I have data connection. Like, this is connected to Wi-Fi. It's always plugged into a wall outlet. So, like, at any time throughout the day, no matter what I'm doing, I can say Alexa and immediately say my phrase without any, like, buffer time before it start listening to me. So, nice. I mean, if any of you guys get the chance to check it out, like, it actually works surprisingly well. Like, you don't have to say Alexa, wait a couple seconds, and do the phrase. I can just be like, Alexa, how's the weather? And it's like instantly tell me the weather. So, like, I'm getting a couple of videos on the channel about it, so you guys can kind of see more into what it actually does. But if you do get the chance to purchase one for $99 if you're a Prime member, it's definitely worth the cash right there, at least in my opinion.
I think the reason that I was underwhelmed with it is because I want my phone to be connected to stuff. I don't want another device that has another group of settings that connects to the network in a different way that doesn't sync with my Google account. I want everything centralized because my music, I do have Prime, so I have Prime Music, but I don't use it because the app is that awful, and I like to Chromecast and stuff. So, but I like the idea of Chromecasts and things that I can just control everything from my phone. I don't want to have to talk. Like, I know that's kind of like a futuristic thing that they show in all kinds of movies. Voice controlled everything. Voice activated this. Turn your TV on with your voice. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to walk around my house like I would feel stupid walking around my house talking to all of my appliances. So I just like to be able to control it all from my phone. I don't need everything to have its own brain. You know what I mean?
I wish it would have some type of screen, because all of my, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong because you've got one, but all of my, like, the way I envision it is asking for, like, a direction. You know, how do I cook this? What do I do with this? Send me a list. Even what's the weather, like, if just a small screen, phone-sized screen, just so I could, like, glance down at it, because how do I cook chicken parmesan? I don't want to ask that 60 times to remember what the fifth question is, or the fifth step is. I think it's a cool little device, but
well, I don't know if it's going to show up on the screen right now, but I mean, when you do get like Echo and you start asking it stuff, it kind of shows you like a feed on the app what you've asked it so far. So like when I asked for my shopping list, it was right there. When I had it tell me a joke, I've got that there. The joke was, and I was playing music on there. Tell me another joke. Like it logs on the app like everything you've asked it, like all the information relating
that's
to
kind
it.
of cool. Okay.
So I mean, if you kind of like a timeline of everything you asked, like right there earlier today I was playing Frank Sinatra, so that's in there, and you can perform different actions. You can like search Prime Music for Frank Sinatra, browse your library for Frank Sinatra, search digital music store for Frank Sinatra. So there's like interaction you can do within things you've asked there. And then for example, like when I asked the weather, there's like a little weather card in there with different information too. So the application definitely really actually has a lot of functionality to it where you can like tweak the settings and stuff. And like you said, it's kind of a mini screen there for the information that's projecting off to it. So it's not like a screen built into it, but I kind of like how there's not a screen on the Echo itself, because the Echo itself is just a very clean, simple functionality to it. But if you do want more information, you've got that option to like go on the application on your phone and like read it off if you do want information, just not like that quick readout that it spoke to you.
They could come up with like a whole different app on your phone that allows you to say something to your phone, and your phone would just give you the answer directly instead of having to ask the Echo, kind of like Google's done with Google Now. That's what bothers me about it, is it's a whole new device that does something and probably doesn't even do it as well as your phone can already do it. Aside from playing music, which I understand it's its own device for that, but it seems like a needless device to me. I'm sure it's got cool features, but.
Well, I think a lot of it just comes down to like what's it needed for. I have something to watch movies on, but I have a TV in my house too. You know what I mean? Like, if this is one of those things, it's just, especially for cheap. It's $100 now. It'll probably go down. It's over in the corner. How do I cook steak? And then it puts it on your phone. Yeah, or even let's talk about one of my favorite devices I've reviewed is that Lenovo Yoga tablet that I could hang up in my kitchen. Yeah, and yes, granted, I could do the same thing on the tablet, but if you're looking at syncing across different devices, we may be a few years ahead of the game here with the Echo, but, to each his own, and kind of, as long as it's fitting some type of need. It's interesting. I'm more interested in it now that Joe's mentioned it than I ever have been.
Well, I think the reason that it bugs me is because I don't see what it does better. And for me to have another device that has to do something better, like I may eventually get a GoPro because it's more portable than strapping a phone to my head to record something. I have a Galaxy camera because it takes much better pictures than any cell phone camera can. So I'm just not convinced that it does better than my current sound system, which is hooked up via Chromecast, and I can control with my phone no matter where I am in the house. I don't have to be in earshot of it, something like that. So, yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure, Joe. I'm not like saying anybody who likes it is stupid. To me, it hasn't wowed me yet. That's all. And if I see, yes, I can. Okay, sorry. And if I see the merit of it, then I'll change my answer, because $99 for what it does is a really good price.
If you like the Echo, you're stupid. No,
I heard it here first.
I think it's gonna be kind of like the smartwatch thing, where, because like I wasn't officially, like when I bought it, it was kind of like an impulse purchase, and like I was waiting since January, and like, is this thing really gonna be worth the wait? But I think it's gonna kind of be like the smartwatch thing, where like you get it, but you don't really see the functionality of it. But then there's gonna be like an epiphany moment, like, oh wow, this is actually a useful gadget. So I know it's like technically like you could like on the Moto X, for example, you could put on the wake phrase whatever you want it to be, even the screen's off. But I mean, then again, like you have to make sure your battery's okay and that like it's not always going to be there. But the Alexa, since it's always plugged in, like no matter what I'm doing, I can walk in and say, "Hey Alexa, add this to my shopping list." If I'm like in the fridge, I say, "Oh no, like we're out of milk," just say, "Alexa, add milk to my shopping list." And it's just that it seems like it's like such a useful kitchen tool because if like I'm doing dishes or like cooking, like where my hands are like always busy doing something, it just seems like the perfect kind of tool to have in the kitchen. Even if I'm just using it for the shopping list, it just seems like a $99 way to add stuff to my shopping list is a pretty expensive thing to do apparently. But I guess that's the state I'm at right now. I buy $99 gadgets. That's honestly the only thing I've used it for. Like I've played some songs, but the majority of my time is having it telling me stupid jokes and puns and adding stuff to my shopping list. So apparently that's it's incentive enough for me to spend $100. So that's kind of sad, honestly.
All right, so let's move on. But no, Greg or Fred, you guys want to jump in on the echo thing before we move on?
Have not experienced it yet. I'd be curious, but I don't like talking to my devices that much. I do use voice recognition to send text messages when I'm driving, but I don't need to call out to Siri or Alexa or anybody else with a lady's name to get stuff going.
I always call mine Karen, sexy Karen.
It was sad. Like last night, I was like walking like through the kitchen to get some more milk, and I said, "Alexa, good night." And there's like no reason for me to do that, but I'm already thinking this like a legit person in my house, and like she just said good night back. Like I didn't get anything from that, but it was like I'm just like, did I really just like say goodnight to this black cylinder sitting in my kitchen that I'm gonna get?
You're reenacting the plot of that movie that we
You're gonna get your
about.
G4 jealous.
I will. I can't tell the G4 about that.
Hey,
So do you, Alexa's
yeah,
your her, huh?
Oh, Tony, I didn't even think about that, Tony.
Yeah, you'll have to do what he does and let us know how that works.
Don't. It's a good movie, but I don't want to. Yes, it is. It's a good movie.
Watch it with your
I'm not
parents
gonna-
and tell me if it's a good movie.
Well, I'm not gonna.
That's
no,
what
it's
I
not
did.
like You're gonna watch it. Well, that's.
Nobody warned me. I heard,
You mean
watch this. The technology's cool.
You don't want to watch like the nude scene of, like the pregnant woman like with your parents at all? Tony, come on.
That wasn't even the worst part. Show me with or whatever. Good lord.
It's
The
a very
depravity,
weird
the
movie,
likes of
but
which I don't even see on the internet.
I'm not gonna argue with this. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen Her, watch it and tell me it's a good movie. If you can get past it, which it's a very hard thing to get past the whole concept of it, but if you can, it's really, really beautiful actually.
I think that the
You need
phone
to watch it
sex are
before-
things to get past.
I mean,
Don't watch
What were you
any
gonna say,
of the,
Greg?
I said don't watch any of the videos about Joaquin Phoenix's forehead first.
Oh man, I died.
You'll just focus on his
I died.
whole
I
time.
died. If you haven't seen it, don't. Yeah. Oh man, it'll change it. You can't unsee it.
No, you can't.
No, it's wonderful. All right, so
well, if I can't be doing that with my Echo Alvie, you gotta don't be doing it with your 8-inch, okay? I mean, we gotta have it clean right here with our gadgets right now.
hey, I don't know what you're talking about. I love my 8-inch. It's beautiful. I just love it. So I don't know what you're talking about, but let's talk about G4s for a minute. I know Tony.
What?
I know Tony needs to reconcile a relationship, and we have agreed. Joe has hunted down and used some back channels to get Kennedy on the show. So, Joe, is she ready?
I think so.
Well, I'll go ahead and turn the reins over to you, and you go ahead and finish this on out.
Okay. Well, I mean, Tony. I mean, I think the G4 wants to reconcile with you and kind of wrap up this feud that's been going on.
Oh.
Hold on. Give me like 2 seconds.
Oh man, dead air. We can't have that. All right. So while she's doing
Panic,
that,
Alvie, panic.
maybe there is one more question. Do you guys have any pets? I have I have Samson. He is my best friend in the whole wide world. He's a German Shepherd Sheltie mix. He's my buddy.
Okay, Tony, you gotta
okay, just
wrap up
sit-
this
sit right on
relationship
his
right
lap.
here. You gotta reconcile this, Tony.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so this is the G4 that's been infamous on the show for like what 2 weeks now.
Yeah,
Wait,
pretty much any
wait,
G4 reference.
you're bringing her on the air to propose? Is that?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. No, I joke, but you guys are way too young to be in a serious relationship, as you recently found out. So, I guess I'll be the bigger person and say I'm not. Holy crap!
I'm not
What?
listening on the podcast.
What in the
Yeah, I feel bad for our podcast listeners this week. Alvie's cat face with a crown is breaking out a brick wall. Well,
What in the
birthday
world? Who
cake
did
out.
that?
That's awesome.
Oh my god.
Can I handle that?
No.
Who did that?
Oh my god.
Inappropriate. Inappropriate.
So
Continue.
is the question for real though? Because who is your G4 for real for all of us, or is it just for Joe? And did
don't
you
know, actually.
wait? Are you gonna propose on air
Tony,
later? Did I ruin it?
Oh my god.
ruining
No.
these plans.
While we have you on, seriously, Kennedy, was that your first prom that you guys went to?
No. It was my
No.
second.
Okay, and by comparison, how was Joe at prom? I'm not making any jokes. I'm seriously asking you since you're on the air.
Well, I was like day long because I was really sick the day of prom. So we went there for like an hour, but it was pretty chill, I guess.
It was lame, so we left. Is that what
Yeah,
it
he's so lame.
No, I was actually really sick. Like we got home and I like
Joe took care of you.
Yeah, Joe does that to people.
Yeah, I have that effect apparently. It's rough.
That's what she said.
oh my
There it is. That about sums up tonight's show. Oh, what happened tonight?
It's great. Okay, so I'm still waiting for the you guys to mend a relationship here, though.
I'm not
I
interested.
mean, G4 hasn't come out yet though, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, she's gay.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Oh my god,
That was Joe's admission, best friend.
that was. I don't even know what's happening, honestly. I don't know.
See, this is Joe. He brings his girlfriend on air and then tries to make it seem all silly, like, oh no, I don't like this girl.
Yeah, you know any sponsors or anything that we had lined up, that's all gone now.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm
So, yeah,
sincerely
that's
sorry
good.
to our podcast listeners.
Yeah.
iTunes, please don't kick us out.
I apologize to all of our listeners right now. Viewers, listeners, whatever it may be. Yeah.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
So that was a big reveal.
And on that shocking news,
Right. Well, should we go ahead and move on to host plugs before this turns into something worse?
Plugs?
How could it get worse?
Exactly. I don't even want to know how it could. Fred, what's going on for you this week, bud?
Waiting for my Jide Remix tablet to ship.
Ooh.
That's where I'm at right now.
Fred is bitter.
Alvie, let's try to contain our excitement for these guys.
Hey, I've got my Nexus 10 ready. I have my Nexus 10 ready. It's all I need is the ROM, and I'm downloading and putting that junk on there. So Tony's the one left in the complete dark. So I feel bad for Tony.
I'm pretty salty. I would have gotten one. I would have probably been in KS 155 with Fred and getting a remix tablet, but I forgot to sign into all this preparation I did, making sure my card was on the account beforehand, and I forgot. I switched computers. I had 2 computers going at the same time to get into to make sure that at least one of them got into the queue. And the computer that got into the queue, I forgot to sign into Kickstarter beforehand, and by the time I had entered my password, they were gone. That's it.
Yeah,
So,
it was quick.
Joe's giving me his.
What do I do? I'm sorry. I was like checking like Twitter to see if there's any questions for a second.
Sure, right. Yeah. Greg, what about you, my friend? What's going on for you this week?
Pretty busy week at work. It's my last week before I get promoted. Woo.
Yeah.
So it's wrapping everything up and getting sorted, and hopefully finishing my little office.
Excellent, fun, good stuff. Always nice when promotions and all that stuff go around. So congrats on that again. So that's awesome. All right, Mobile Cup of Mobile Cup of Joe.
All right, it can get worse.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the Mobile Cup of Joe is doing this coming week, but Mobile Cup of Joe is I don't know. My Remix tab was supposed to be here today actually, but then it was on DHL and then it was like in Grand Rapids on vehicle for delivery and just never got here. So I'm crossing my fingers it'll be here tomorrow. And then honestly, probably that and just finishing up my programming college class, which is an absolute joy right now. And then just screwing around with my Amazon Echo, not in the way that Joaquin Phoenix did in Her, but
stop it.
Honestly, yeah, not much this weekend. So
Killing me.
This is one of our most derailed shows we've had in such a long time.
They're fun though. I think the only thing that would have made it worse or better or worse is if Aaron had been on here because he tends to derail us pretty quick. So it would have been a beautiful nightmare if he had been on.
That would have been perfect.
What about you, Tony? What's going on for you this week, bud?
Oh, continuing to pack, and like I said, we'll be moving on Friday, so I have Friday off to go and get the U-Haul truck and stuff all our crap in it and take it up to the new place. So I'm very, very excited about moving. Been a couple of hitches in our giddy up, but it has been. We're definitely moving along, and I'm really glad that we're going. Sorry, I'm reading our chat now again. No, I'm really glad that we're moving up, and I'm really glad that we're able to get a good, just move on in life away from this area, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely for the better for you. I know it is. So I know that's exciting. So we'll miss you next week, but definitely understand. I know we're giving you a hard time about it, but definitely go for it, and we'll catch up with you in 2 weeks. So that's awesome. Very, very cool. As far as me, I will be hopefully finishing up the review for the HTC One M9. I'll have that published and stuff on the site and on the channel. Have that done, and the Bane Tech review should come out this week for Mr. Rugged's Beard Bomb, so be looking for that. We'll share that all over the socials and all that stuff too. That was pretty cool. And also working on some other stuff. Just a whole bunch of people randomly reached out to me this past week, sending me stuff to review and try out. So you'll be seeing that next couple weeks. That's what's going on with me. And then Chuck, we missed you, and he hopefully will, all things Lord willing and the creek don't rise, as Tony likes to say. He'll be back on next week. So, but that does do it for our terribly derailed fun show. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to it or watching it. If we didn't get to if you didn't get a chance to put your question up, you still can #MCOJBrew, and we'll answer those as we can, either on the socials or on the next show. But for Fred, Greg, Joe, G4, Tony, Chuck, and myself, that does do it for this show. Thanks guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week at 9 o'clock. Good night.
Night.